We'll start with a virtual visit to a power plant. Because when you teach thermodynamics 1, you start out with analyzing components and you end the course with putting the components together in a power plant, in a steam engine or a heat engine they call it. So I start my first lecture. Although the students don't know what a power plant is, the reason being I wanted them to see the end. They are to see the end at the very beginning, okay? And then I wanted to give them exposure to a real engineering workplace. I discovered that students don't know where they're going to work. Mechanical engineers especially, they actually don't know where they're going to work. The pure mechanical engineering students. Now, if you take a medical student, they know the hospital is where I'm going to. Third year, they're already in the hospital. The lawyers, they know where they're going to work. But what about pure mechanical engineering students? Where am I going to work? They have some rough ideas. So this is what I'm going to do to them. I'm going to show them an engineering workplace that's related to thermodynamics. Because thermodynamics is one area in mechanical engineering. So I say, welcome to the power station in Glugo. Okay? So for my final year students, for a power plant technology class, I show them a video clip because I went to this power plant and I took a video clip of this power plant. So I showed them all this. But for my first year, no, this is probably what I show them. And then this is where you are going to work. So I know one of the students is Abdul Rahman. So I said, Abdul Rahman, this is Engineer Abdul Rahman. I call them by that name. This is where he's working. This is a steam turbine. And we are going to analyze this in our class. So remember next time when I draw a tiny box that says turbine, this is what I'm talking about, guys. This is what I'm talking about. This is the real thing. Okay? So that's what I do. Now, before the midterm break, I give them a group project. And it relates to an actual power plant requiring actual data for analysis. This is my project. Okay? What does it say here? It is proposed to build a 1 million kilowatt. This is a 1,000 megawatt. This is a real problem. Electrical power plant with steam as the working fluid. The condensers are to be cooled with river water. Okay? And do you know that this is actually what's happening at the Pasir Gudang power plant? The condensers are being cooled with river water. Okay? So, with water. Okay? So, the maximum steam temperature, this comes out from the boiler at 550 degrees Celsius. And look how I address my student. As an engineering consultant, you are to convince the authorities. Now look, if you are a practicing engineer, you have to deal with local authorities, like it or not. And you have to know the laws of the land. In fact, to get the IR title now, they have an examination. They call it a competency examination, where they will test you on the laws of the land. You have to know that. If you are an engineer, you're a practicing engineer, you have to know the laws of the land. Yeah? For instance, if you are from civil engineering, in the construction industry, they used to have what is known as the certificate of fitness, right? Now it's no longer there, isn't it? They're replacing it with CCC, which is Certificate of Completion and Compliance. Now you have to know that, right? And I, being a professional engineer, I'm not bragging about it, but I have this information. I have this information. In fact, I tell my students, I am the first lady to become an executive committee member of the IEM Southern Branch. Okay? So, now, you have to know the laws of the land. So here, they feel that they are an engineer now, a little bit, and then they know they have to interact with the local authorities, and then they have to be responsible to the environment, because the questions say, as an engineering consultant, you are to convince the authorities that the discharge to the river will not be harmful to the environment. They have to know the environmental impact assessment, at least something on the EIA aspect. But the question is in such a way, I crafted the problem in such a way that they will be able to get the information. It's not impossible for them to solve with the knowledge that they have and with the time that I have given them, half a semester, to do this. And they actually, at the end, just I think 2 weeks after the semester break, I took them for a trip to Pasir Gudang. And I actually contacted this man here. He's an engineer there. His name is Mr. Hanafi. So I told him that I've given my students this assignment and they require certain data Okay, so when they come, they will probably be asking for some information from you. So he's actually prepared. So when we went for the trip, it wasn't just a leisure trip like that. No. Taking photographs just and then go home, bye-bye. No. When we went to the trip, the students already have question in mind, because in order to solve their problem, they need information from the engineers. So when I went there, the program was such that Mr. Hanafi gave a lecture. It was a lecture in a real power plant, 1 hour lecture. And he emphasized on the condensers and the requirement by the local authorities on the temperature of the water. So the students already was taking notes during his lecture. Okay? And then, of course, they went around the power plant. Okay? And they look at actual valves and see how big those things are. And say, oh my God, the boiler is a building, Puan. Yes, the boiler in a power plant is a building. In a medium-sized factory, it's just a cylindrical thing. But in a power plant, it's a whole building. So this is what they see. Yeah? And of course, I was there taping everything. I was only the camerawoman at that time. So that is what I did for my cooperative learning, if you want to know. Okay, again, the strategies, the planning, the implementation, the strategies before that. These are the strategies that I use. The team formation, and I learned this from Dr. Khairia. She was the one who taught me how to form groups, and I applied that in my group project. Okay, I form groups early in the semester, and I keep them intact for the whole semester. If they have problems, they come and discuss. These are the normal standard things. They have to establish goals and expectation. When they are going to meet, how they're going to communicate with each other, their feedback, their criticism, what is the accountability, the mode of punishment if somebody doesn't contribute. And I require a minute. For my final year students, I want to see your minutes of meetings. Then I can see who actually came for the meetings and who actually contributed. So, and also, if it's in my final year students, I use a Jigsaw Technique. That means if the steam plant has 4 main components, the boiler, the turbine, the condenser, and the pump, I will divide the group into each component. And they go to the plant and they study each component. They come back, they do a presentation of each component. And whatever they present will be in the second test. I promise them that. So they have to teach each other so that they can do well in the test. So, rewards. I surprise them with the reward every time. I will always have a best group, best project. And usually at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of the semester, I will look for coupons from Pizza Hut so that I can treat them cheaper. Okay, so I collect coupons, and if that fail, I would take them for a bowling trip because my other passion is bowling. So I take them for bowling because I'm a member of the Skudai Bowling Center, so I get discount. So, and this is a surprise to them, they don't know. Okay, I announce them at the end, and then they all have a good time there. So how do I do assessment? I use rubrics. Rubrics developed by Professor Felder and Professor Brent. Those are the rubrics that I used. And I also use the auto rating system. This is peer rating. This is peer rating, and this is something that I have shared with some of the lecturers. I've just emailed to Puan Haslinda the auto rating templates that I've used. And some of the lecturers in FKM are very creative and innovative. They have actually modified the templates that I gave them so that it's more suitable for their courses. Okay, so this is the one that I use for the written report as well as for the oral presentation. So this is a single thing rubric. Okay, so these are the possible points, these are the scores that I gave, and this is my comments. For instance, here I say content does not follow the list in the table of contents. Performance criteria not specifically addressed. Yeah. And then some diagrams are missing, so they get a 75 from me. And this is the peer rating that I used. Okay, this guy, he will have to rate himself and his friends. Yeah, and usually I find that they are very sincere. These are genuine ratings.